In this video, I'm going to be making a tier list based on the characters from the series Vikings. This is only going to include 50 characters that I've selected from the entire series. From the 50 characters I picked out, I thought they were like the most important ones. Let me know if you guys think that I'm missing some important characters. I'm going to be weighing these characters based on their importance and impact towards the show. I'm going to look into character development. And lastly, it's all opinionated. In the categories, we have S, A, B, C, and D. S is obviously like the best tier. D is the worst tier. So I watched the show pretty recently, but a lot of the earlier episodes are foggy. For most of this, I'm going to go based on memory, and I'm not going to try to make it too long, so I'm going to have a little brief explanation for each character. Let me know your thoughts about my tier list, and just let me know if you would make any personal changes on your own. And lastly, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and please do subscribe, especially if you're new to the channel. I would totally appreciate your support, and let's get to it. Right, to start us off, we have King Earl. I wouldn't say he's a skillful warrior. He was basically an antagonist. He's notable for being the one to kill Ragnar, as in to throw him into the pit of snakes, which is why a lot of people hate him. And he doesn't really have a great personality either. He seems very big-headed, as in he thinks highly of himself. And man, this guy got blood eagles, so that was pretty cool. But overall, as a character, I was not impressed. I would have to probably put him in the C tier. Like, he was sort of a minor character, but the fact that he had some spotlight in regards to capturing Ragnar and to throw him to his death, that's tough. Next, we have Ethel Redd. He is the legitimate son of Ethel Wolf, unlike his brother Alfred. I feel like he had some type of similar characteristics to Rolo, where there might have been some jealousy, because, you know, Alfred, when he was like raised even like by Ekberg, he was kind of like the favorite one, and Ethelred was just kind of on the sidelines growing to be a warrior. Alfred was set to be king, not Ethelred, even though he's the firstborn, so that's pretty crazy. He wasn't much of an impactful character in my opinion. He had a really crazy death. That threw me off. For now, I'll also throw him into the C tier with King Earl. Alright, Ethel Wolf. He's the son of King Ekberg from the Wessex side. He was a really skilled warrior. I give him credit for that. I get that he was kind of like a tough guy and harsh, but he had a soft heart. I felt like it. It was insane to see him go out from like a bee sting. But Aethelwulf, he led a lot of battles. He was just thrown out there by his father, and yeah, he held it down. I have to give him credit as a character. I kind of liked him personally. I'm gonna put him in the B tier because he was pretty solid. Now we get Alfred. We saw him as a kid, and he was basically placed in a high position where he had to take over like the future of Wessex. He's held it down in many great battles. He even went to, I think, Rome. I forgot for what specific reasons, but he came back as like a holy man, and he was ready to like get it down and save the kingdom. And even up until the last few episodes, he won a great battle. I wish I could have seen more of him. It seemed like he was a really good guy, very modest, and was all about his people. Kind of like, you could kind of see him as a protagonist from the other perspective, which is pretty cool. I would place him in the B tier along with Aethelwulf, his illegitimate father, since he's the son of Athelstan. Aslog, whatever you want to call her. I know a lot of people don't like her, or didn't like her at all. She was probably one of the most unlikable characters. She came in, home-wrecked Ragnar and Lagertha. I mean, that is partially Ragnar's fault. Like, had many sons with Ragnar, but it's like once she became queen, her character just flatlined. There was like a lot of hatred that resonated from her to like all the people, even though she held like the highest power. Maybe she felt lonely. I mean, she did, because we all know what happened. But it's just like, damn, that's it? I couldn't get more out of her. Even though she was there for a really, really long time, I just didn't see any growth with her. So in this case, I'm gonna also put her in the B tier because she was somewhat of an important character. Come on. A mother of 4 of Ragnar's sons. Astrid. I feel like she was another character that had high potential. She was introduced as like a significant other for Lagertha. I remember she turned over to King Harold's side because he basically kidnapped her or something, and it sucked. She had like a 180 turn when she basically sided with him because she liked the thought of becoming a queen. And then it was kind of like a romantic tragedy, whatever you want to call it, when Lagertha ended up being the one to kill her. But yeah, it sucks that that's what happened to Astrid. I thought she would be, you know, more of a character. And on the side, it was kind of weird how she kind of hooked up with Bjorn too, mother son sharing the same lover. I'm gonna have to put her in a C tier. Athelstan, Mr. Holy Man. He was taken in the early seasons. Man, he was Ragnar's homie, that's for sure. He was very interesting because he had there was a lot of questioning with his religious beliefs, because at one point he did think about the Nordic gods, you know, the old gods, as like, he just started having faith in the gods, or at least adapted to it. He wasn't really like the most skilled fighter, but I feel like he was thrown in for a great reason, to open the eyes of Ragnar, and he even had a huge position in Wessex, especially with King Ekberg. For Athelstan, I wish I could say more, but I did like him overall. So in this case, I'm also gonna put him in the B tier. Next, we have Bjorn. We watched this kid grow up, and he became a fierce warrior, a freaking traveler, like a true Viking. He had a lot of epic scenes, even up until his last breath, where he raised that sword up, you know, came back from the dead, the story of that. Also a very surprising death to me. Bjorn was a beast. I really, really liked him. He had a lot of resemblances with Ragnar, and he was just so great at expressing his emotions, especially his rage. There was like a big fire within him. He was the oldest brother. He was just a very impactful character to the show, in my opinion. Bjorn is an S tier, so he's at the top. Even after Ragnar's departure, he was someone that I wanted to like continue watching to see his progression as a character. King Charles of Frankia. This man was a huge coward, I must say. He wasn't great at all, but it was important for him to be there because he's basically Rolo's father-in-law, and he governs like the whole entire place. He just really hated Vikings from what I remember, and he never did any of the dirty work. He let Rolo and his men like Odo do all of like battling, and basically gave high praise. I believe he had like a lot of brothers that wanted to take him down, but other than that, for this character, I didn't see much. I would even say King Ale had more character development than this guy. But for that reason, I'm putting him in the D tier. King Ekberg. Wow. He was a very interesting character, but he was also selfish. He didn't really care about like his own family, not even his son Ethel Wolf. He did everything for himself. He wanted to be like the ultimate ruler. He even wanted to like gain support so he could someday rule Mercia. There was like a huge conflict about that, but up until the end, like, he had like a noble way of going out because he committed suicide, and with his own choice of doing so. He was a great character for the opposing side, I should say. So I'm gonna put him in the A tier. We got Eric. Eric was pretty new. He saved Bjorn's life, and all of a sudden he got power hungry after Bjorn's death, which was a complete 180 turn as well to me. He wanted to basically get with Gunhild and Ingrid and become king of Kattegat, which was suckish, but you know, at the same time, a lot of characters wanted power, so I understand that. He was like an illegal slave trader and like a pirate. Honestly, I don't have many good things to say about him. I guess he was kind of necessary because he came with Bjorn, but other than that, I'm just gonna put him in the C tier. Like, that's it. He wasn't that great in my opinion. Erlander. We got King Horik's son. He did not really have a significant role because he was like a kid in the beginning when King Horik was kind of like reigning. But after King Horik's death, he basically plotted to get his revenge, and he found his way back, and I don't remember too much, but he was married to Torvi, I believe, and obviously that didn't work out because he was a douche and Torvi ended up killing him. But this character was pretty despicable. And I get he wanted revenge for his father, but people just didn't like him, and I didn't either. So I'm going to put him in the C tier as well. Next we have Freydis. This was Ivar's lover. There's a lot of gaps from my memories of who ruled Kattegat because there's been so many people. But this woman was so deceitful. Like, she tried getting on Ivar's good side, hyping him up as a god. And she even lied about him being the father of her child. She just slept with other people just to try to like have control over Ivar, manipulating her way up to become queen. She was hungry to become queen. And I guess she started hating Ivar, resenting him because he was catching on that she wasn't who she was supposed to be, like his support system. And she ended up getting strangled. She was not a likable character, guys, I must say. Putting her in the C tier because she was pretty significant in the aspects of making Ivar really angry and sad. Next we have Gisla, King Charles's daughter and the wife of Rolo, the mother of his children. From what I remember, she had some interest in Rolo. They got together, and I felt like she was kind of backseating for him, basically being the one to always tell him what to do. Like, you gotta win the battles for Frankia, you gotta come back, you can't be like a Viking anymore, you need to completely change who you are. I didn't get a lot of good vibes from her at all. Like, she wasn't likable, and it just makes me want to put her in the D tier. But then now I'm looking at the people in the C tier and I'm thinking maybe they should also go into D tier. So D tier it is for me. Alright, Gunhild. She was a shield maiden, mighty warrior. I'd probably say the second best behind Lagertha. I think she was an alright, decent character. I remember she was married to a previous Viking who was some type of nobleman or ruler, and then she ended up getting with Bjorn. She was cool, like she had a good heart and everything, and she was very loyal, even up until the end, which was very crazy. She was a fierce warrior. I really liked that about her. She started picking up momentum in the later seasons as a character. Other than that, I don't think I have much more to say. She had a great tribute to Lagertha, and she really respected her, so that was also amazing to see. For the way she went out, that gave me like more respect for her. And so as a character, I must put her at a B tier. Halfdan. This is King Harold Finehair's brother. At first, I thought he would be like some type of lunatic and out of control type of character, but he had a lot of wisdom. I was very surprised. He actually became a cool character, like pretty badass. He freaking traveled the world with Bjorn, like in some other areas. He held it down. He was loyal to Bjorn because his life was saved, and he even went up against his brother in like huge battle, even though it cost him his life. But I felt like he was, you know, the brother character that wanted to create his own legacy. He didn't want to be defined as King Harold's brother. You know, he doesn't want to be on the side. He wanted to have his own journey and expedition, and that was super respectable. He had a lot of great lines in my opinion, not that I could recite them. He's also going to be in the B tier. Alright, next we have King Herald. Man, this guy was super badass. His character development just soared through the series, I swear. When he first came in, I didn't think of him or his brother as anything special. Just like, okay, another potential antagonist down the road. But man, they really got into his character. He expressed himself as the type of person who wanted to become the king of all Norway. He ended up getting that, but it wasn't enough for him. He realized that there was more to it, life that he wanted to accomplish. Had a lot of issues with marriages and women. He was a pretty likable character, even though he was, you know, against a lot of the other characters, the protagonists. But this man was really special. He was very driven, motivated. It felt very inspiring just watching him try to accomplish his goals. Sure, he's a Viking and he did some really ridiculous and messed up things. He was a very special character for the show, and I appreciate how he was also like a fierce warrior, also had wonderful quotes, and held it down for himself. For that, I have to give this man an S. Earl Haroldson. So he was basically like the first antagonist for Ragnar. So while Ragnar was raising popularity for raiding in other regions, this man was always back at home taking credit, and he was basically just trying to put Ragnar down because, I don't know, he was jealous and he didn't like what was happening. But good thing Ragnar overthrew him. He was like a first major obstacle for Ragnar. He was definitely a great beginning kind of antagonist for the characters to develop. He even got Rolo to betray Ragnar, you know, for the first time, so that was unique. Also had an honorable death going 1v1 against Ragnar. I'll put him in the C tier. We got Harbard the Wanderer. This man was sleeping with other men's wives while they were raiding or on an expedition. It seemed like he was a god because people were seeing him in their dreams, specifically Siggy, Helga, and Oslog. He played with Oslog's feelings so hard. He took interest in Ivar. I just didn't know what his character was like meant to do. He just roamed through the town like, I guess, twice, Kattegat, and just vanished. He was very mysterious. I guess he was a character placed just to have like a story go on between the ladies back at home in Kattegat. But other than that, I didn't find him as special at all. And for that reason, he is in the C tier. Hiemund, if I say that wrong, I'm so sorry, but this man was so badass. I freaking love this character. He was like God's warrior for the Christians. You know, he was a bishop. He was also having his own struggles because he was, I guess, a drunk and a person who loved to like sleep with women. And he was Lagertha's lover at one point. Super fierce fighter. His personality was so cool. He was kind of like calm and collected, but at the same time he was driven to just kill pagans. He didn't care what side of the battle he was on, as long as he's able to kill pagans, and he loved nothing more than God himself and also Lagertha. He went down like a champ during a battle, like he got stabbed. Yeah, he was just a very awesome character, and I feel like at one point you could have like perspective for his character as the main character. You know, it would be really, really cool. Imagine if he had his own show. That's how special he is in my eyes. But he wasn't like a top tier character to carry the show. He was kind of like an addition to make it more interesting. For that reason, he's an A tier character for me. Next, we have Helga. Helga was Floki's significant other. Very, very sad the way she went out, being killed by a child that she wanted to adopt. She held it down for Floki, which was super nice. I think she was a really likable character in general. She didn't have a great impact, like my perspective, other than that. I just felt like Floki was such a lonely character without her, so it was great that she was there to support him. That was it. I just have to give her a C. King Horik. At first I thought he would be a cool character, you know, being a king and all, but it felt like he was getting jealous of Ragnar because a lot of people really worshipped Ragnar and loved him. And King Horik was very deceitful. He tried to betray Ragnar, or he even did, and threatened his family and all. That's why he got killed, of course. I wouldn't say he was like the most likable guy at all, but he was a pretty cool antagonist for the time being. Not as notable as the other ones, so for that reason, he gets a C from me too. So there's a lot of people in the C right now, which is perfectly fine. Next, we have Vitzerk. Of all the brothers, aside from Sigurd, he was the least likable. He had his own struggles with alcohol and trying to figure out what he wanted to become or what he wanted to accomplish. He was great, like a supportive, loving brother, especially towards Uba and even Ivar, even though it seemed like he hated him. I just felt like there's more potential for him, and it totally threw me off when he became Athelstan and converted to Christianity by the end of the entire series. But that's understandable if they're following like through history and all that. He killed Lagertha, which was pretty effed up. I wish there was more that could have been done with him, but he was somewhat of a significant character in the series, and for that reason he's getting a B. Igor. Thank God he was not a Joffrey from Game of Thrones. He was just a very innocent little kid who really loved Ivar, and he was being used by his own uncle, Oleg, which sucked. I'm glad he didn't turn evil or anything, but there's not much more I could say about him because he's just a kid who's not a dickhead. He's getting a C from me. Ingrid. This woman is a witch. I have no idea how she could become the queen of Kattegat. I understand that she drew Bjorn's attention, that's how, and she did some effed up stuff to Eric, even though he kind of deserved it. Jeez, I don't think she was that likable, especially compared to Gunhild. We know that she had the intention of wanting to become queen, just like many of the characters, but it just throws me off so bad that she became the queen in the end. She's just not that likable. And for that reason, she's getting a C as well. Next, we have Ivar, the Boneless. Man, he was an incredible character, I should say. I loved like his battle cries and when he gets super angry. He was also a very emotional character, I should say. He gave like flavor to the entire series because his character was so different. He was a crippled, he was super intelligent, definitely underrated to a lot of people, the actual characters, but Ragnar really believed in him that he would shine as long as he used his wits and his intelligence to beat enemies. It showed later on that he had a kind heart, especially towards Igor and his own brother. It was a very sad way for him to go out, but I'm sure he created a huge positive legacy for himself. Overall, he felt like an anti-hero kind of character because he went against his own family. It was pretty effed up when he killed Sigurd, by the way. Yeah, he was a special Vikings character, and I must give him an S tier. Jarl Borg. To me, he is like King Herald before King Herald was introduced. He was such a very honorable and cool antagonist. He was a great warrior. He even got a Rolo to betray Ragnar for the second time, which is pretty funny. He was the first person to get blood eagled, which was insane, but he didn't cry or anything, so he entered Valhalla. I don't remember too much about the details, but man, this guy was sick, I should say, and I'm gonna give him an A. Judith. She was Athelstan's lover. She was very manipulative later on, or at least she was kind of a snake, how should I say it. Even though she became like a queen because she was married to Ethel Wolf, she was still sleeping around with Ekberg and Athelstan. Like, come on. To me, she just became a character that you started to dislike more and more. I know even though she suffered from getting like her ear cut off, we felt bad. Man, she did some effed up stuff by killing her own son. She poisoned Ethel Redd because she felt like he was in the way of stopping Alfred to becoming king, which is like, really? Are you serious? Like, she was paranoid. That bothered me a lot. I'm just gonna give her a C tier. Alright, Kaf. He basically was Lagertha's love interest for a bit. He definitely turned on her and took over as ruler from her region. I forgot what it was called. I think it was like, starts with a B, Betbind or something. But when she left, he became the ruler. He wanted to be a joint ruler with her. I don't know, there was not much I could say about him. Seems chill with his personality. But he was pretty stupid because Lagertha basically told him that she's gonna kill him someday and he still wanted to marry her, and she ended up killing him. I might be missing some more information about him, or may have forgotten his importance. Yep, that was it. He's getting a C from me. Next we have Edge, WWE superstar, also known as Katil. This man was crazy. He slaughtered an entire family, named himself King of Iceland and apparently Greenland because they got there. I guess you could say he's the ruler of a giant whale that drifted ashore to his side of the line. He was such a vicious character who really pressed on revenge, and he also lied a lot, like to Ube and Floki. Very interesting to see him there, but yes, he's getting a C from me. Next we have Queen Quenthrith, supposed Queen of Mercia. She wanted to go against her own brother to get it back. She got help from King Ekberg and Ragnar, even though Ekberg was like kind of deceiving her and wanted to overthrow her after. Crazy how she got killed by Judith, I think when she was in bed. Funniest thing from her, from what I remember, was that she was crazy and she started saying that she had a son with Ragnar, even though Ragnar didn't do anything but I think spit on her. But yeah, she was just kind of cuckoo from what I remember, and I'm giving her a C. Lagertha. Man, she is possibly like the greatest shield maiden warrior. Her character really blossomed. Like in the beginning, I didn't really see much from her because the focus wasn't really entirely on her. But over the years, her character went full throttle and she gained so much power. Was such a likable character with a great heart. She was all about the ways of the old gods. I have a lot of just positive things to say about her. She held it down in Kattegat as queen. She fought overseas in multiple battles, and she really cared deeply for Bjorn and Ragnar. She even killed Oslog, so people are giving her props for that, I'm sure. Man, we saw her age like fine wine. She became an old lady, and it sucked the way she went out, but she was such a great hero. And for that, I'm giving her an S. Next we have Magnus. This kid was pretty irrelevant. The son of apparently Ragnar, according to Queen Quenthrith. He grew up, joined King Harold's army, and he kept telling everyone that he was the son of Ragnar, so King Harold was kind of bragging about that, even though he kind of questioned it on the side. He was just like, "You're a son of Ragnar? Okay, sure, I'm gonna go with that." And he died in such a ridiculous way. I don't remember exactly what happened, but man, he just went out pretty instantly and didn't serve much relevance. So I will also give him, because he wasn't a likable character, I might just have to give him a D tier. Next we have Margareth, probably one of the most disliked characters. At least that's what I remember, because she was just like an ordinary slave girl that Vitzerk and Ube fell in love with. He even made love to Ivar, and she was driven to try to become queen and try to manipulate her way around things. She ended up going crazy. Of course, a lot of people go crazy. Man, I'm just starting to realize that. And he tried to turn on people, and in the end, Ivar sent his men to kill her. That was it. Really, like, what was the point of her character, right? Just another love interest that goes crazy and starts shit. So she's getting a D tier for me. Now we have Odo. He was basically the highest position as the King Charles's right-hand man in Frankia. I think he was like a general that led the army alongside with Rolo. I just remember him being a really kinky person because he liked to whip people, and he ended up getting whipped to death, which was very odd. His personality wasn't the greatest from what I remember. He was respectable as a leader in Frankia. Man, I don't really have much to say, but for that I'm just gonna give him a C. Olaf. He was there as a king. He went against Bjorn for quite a while. He had a very interesting personality. He was, I wouldn't say chill is the right word to say for him. He was kind of like a witness to everything. Like, he recognized Bjorn as a king, of course, but he was very neutral at the same time. Like, if he saw evil, like in Ivar, he would call it out and be like, I ain't siding with you. He got burned to death by Igor because he was forced to, and he just took it like a champ. He's just like, don't be afraid. Yes, he was unique for a bit, but he was just a side character. I'm gonna give him a C. Now we have Oleg, one of the Prince of Rus. Basically was a tyrannical leader that just straight up took over after his brother died, the king, and man, he just went crazy for power. He manipulated or controlled his nephew and used his nephew as kind of leverage. He welcomed Vitzerk and Ivar into his place to like give him inspiration to want to take over Kattegat, but that didn't work out. And from that point on, like, he was a ruthless man who killed his own wife and own brothers. Then all of a sudden he turned to Christianity and just went crazy from there and ended up getting shot by his own nephew. I don't know. It was kind of like a unsatisfying way for him to go out because I thought there would be more to his character, but since it was the final season, he had to die somehow. I'm gonna also put him in the C category. Alright, Theo there, he was just another wandering character lurking around after Floki's disappearance in Iceland. He went along with Ketil's lies about what happened to Floki and everything, but ended up telling Ubba the truth about how Ketil was slaying people. He went to America with Ubba and Torvi. He was just a very interesting guy with great wisdom. He's a very mysterious man because he was saying a lot of different things, saying like how he was originally a Christian monk who took over a Viking's name after killing a Viking, but then he said it vice versa. Good for him. He's getting a C from me. Next we have Poron. That was Bjorn's first significant other. I felt like it was super sad for her character. Like, she had a child with Bjorn, but then the child died. I know she was a servant who became a shield maiden, but her character was not great. They didn't build on with her character. Instead, she got severely injured where it messed up her face, and then she basically left Bjorn. So I'm just like, wow, that's it. That's it for her. I thought we would see her again, but nope. Not at all. She will get a C from me as well. Next we have Ragnar Lothbrok. We all know where he's gonna go. I don't even think I have to say how special he was as a character. Even though he was gone after season 4, everyone just missed him and loved him so much. I grew to like him like tremendously. Such a great character. His dialogue, his acting, the emotions you feel from him. He was just someone that everyone looked up to in the show. He was like a great leader, strategic, intelligent. No matter how many times his brother betrayed him or whatever people betray him, he overcame it all. Like, of course, he had some like major losses in battle, and his character kind of fell because he got really sick and he relied on some drugs at one point. But overall, he was just a very amazing character. He was just like the man, the myth, the legend, Odin's descendant. I have so many great things to say about him, and come on, he had like so many famous lines. Like that one time when he came back after not seeing his sons for so long, he was just like, "Who wants to be king?" Yeah, something like that. He's getting an S tier. Next we have Roland. He was just a commander in Frankia. I believe he was under Odo, but he ended up killing Odo because he conspired with his sister. Sister, right? Yeah, they were lovers. Oh man, there was incest going on. They conspired to get rid of Odo, and they just tried to go up the ladder as far as they can. That backfired because he ended up dying, because Charles found out his plan. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm gonna put him in the D tier because I didn't really like him much personally. Rolo. This man has betrayed Ragnar countless times, at least 3 times from what I could remember. Even though he loved his brother and couldn't really find a way to kill him, he was always jealous and envious of him, wanted to have what he would have, wanted to be a king, wanted to have power, had a lot of conflict as a character since the very, very beginning. He was a super amazing and fierce fighter. He even beat his own people in battle to defend Frankia, which is why he became a hero there. I guess it was a great spot for him to end up at, but I didn't expect his departure from the show to be like that. Like, he lived through the whole series, which was also shocking. Was a very, very big troublemaker, but he was such a likable character at the same time. And I feel like the show was even more special because of him. Everyone just loved the conflict that he was going through, I swear. I wish we could have seen him one last time before the series ended, but that was it. He just came back and said, "Hey Bjorn, I'm your dad." But Bjorn's like, "No, you're not." And that was it. But since he is a legendary character, he goes into the S tier. At least to me, he does. Alright, next we have Siggy. She was the former wife of Earl Haroldson from the first season. After he died, she kind of just stuck around and became a significant other of Rolo. I felt like I started liking her more and more because she was kind of like a decent person, even though she went through so much as to losing her daughter and her husband. She was nice to even like be there to try to control Oslog, especially when Harbard came around, because Oslog was like on a spiraling path and Siggy was trying to like look after her kids, trying to keep Kattegat in order even without her. I'm sure she wanted to be like an important like noble once again, but sucks for her. She ended up drowning. That was probably one of the earliest like shockers for me. She just wanted to be with her daughter and husband in Valhalla again, which is understandable. So I'm gonna give her a C. We have Sigurd. He died pretty early. I thought he would be a special character because when he was born, he had like that one serpent eye, but man, he just grew up to hate Ivar because he really disliked his mother for cheating on Ragnar and sleeping with Harbard. Yeah, he just didn't get along with Ivar, kept pushing him to his limits of anger and ended up getting killed by him. Sucks that we couldn't see much more development for his character, and for that reason I'm just gonna have to leave him at the C tier. Next we have the Seer. Even though the Seer died, well technically he said he didn't die, he is no longer alive or dead. He's very interesting because a lot of people respected him as the old wise one and like an elder who had a lot of knowledge, who was able to communicate with the gods. I think he was just there to let people foresee their futures, kind of like a fortune teller. I appreciate how they had his character incorporated to set the tone for some characters down to like to create their own path. You gotta respect this tier, and for that reason, I'm giving him a B tier. Next we have Therese, or she's the sister of Roland, and they conspired to try to gain Odo's trust and just to like get him to like her. She let him whip her, inflict pain on her. She really wanted to leverage her way to become a high noble there. I can't say much more for her. I'm just gonna leave her in the D tier, but you guys can let me know if there's anything significant you think about her. We got Torsten. He was Ragnar's homies back in the day. He was pretty cool. He was kind of just on the side for like a lot of the time, but he was a very noble and honorable character, very loyal to Ragnar, and through many raids and adventures with him. And I just had to include him because he went out like a champ. He sacrificed himself. He was injured and he had an infection. He continued to like climb up a mountain to fight against, I believe, the Mercians. He distracted them, gave him enough time for Ragnar and everyone to come up to fight. But I'm gonna put him in a C tier because he wasn't really a very influential character like the other people in like the higher tiers. Torvi! Alright, So Torvi actually stuck around for a really long time in my opinion. She had many lovers, Jarl Borg, Bjorn, Uba. She held it down, she was very positive. She became a really strong fighter, which I really liked. I compare her to Carol from The Walking Dead. She was just like a brittle woman with a child, and she became a fierce fighter, shield maiden, and I respect that so much. She traveled, raided with them, fought with people, experienced having her children die, which sucked, especially Guthrum, Jarl Borg's son from the early days. And yeah, she grew as a character, but she wasn't like super liked compared to a lot of other characters, and I'm just gonna give her a B. Now we have Uba. Uba was the oldest brother, at least for Oslog's children. He had some screen time as a child because he was kind of nearing the teenage years, which was pretty cool. He really respected a lot of people like Floki and his own father. He was very special. He ended up traveling around the world, had a special bond with Vitzerk, and really respected his older brother Bjorn. He wanted to make his father proud and ended up finding lands in America. He also traveled to Iceland and Greenland and went through a lot of hardship. He was also a fierce warrior, and he really resembled Ragnar appearance-wise, so I thought that was neat. I just liked him as he was a very level-headed character, respectable, all about the old ways and the gods too, and I'm gonna give him an A tier. It's very arguable that he could be in the S tier, but I feel like he wasn't the it factor compared to the others. Next we have Yidu. Yidu was basically a slave all the way from China. Ragnar took some interest in her, and she ended up being his personal drug dealer, which was pretty crazy. I, for some reason, thought that this would lead them to try to travel to China, and we would see some Chinese warriors or stuff like that, because she was a princess. Her father wasn't actually an emperor or king, which was pretty dope. Her character didn't really grow. I just felt like Ragnar was just abusing her for her freaking drugs, and he ended up killing her, which sucked. So she didn't get to develop as much. And for that reason, I'm giving her a C. I totally forgot about Floki, which was a horrible mistake. Floki held it down all the way from season 1. Legendary ship creator. He was a special friend to Ragnar. He was also a crazy, awesome fighter. His personality was so unique. He had that little snicker and laugh, which was cool. He was very wholesome as a character. Traveling, loving Helga. Sucks that he lost his child. He became a really wise character, and it was sad when he disappeared, but luckily he came back. The only thing I didn't like was when he killed Athelstan, but I realized why, and I understand. Yeah, he went through his own personal conflicts with Ragnar, but man, he is a legendary character. For that reason, I'm adding him to the S tier, so you should see his name or his image in the S tier. And that's it for this list. I know this was a super long video, but hey, this was fun doing a tier list like this. Now I just gotta make a few changes to see if anyone should go up or down. Alright, I think I would leave my list like this. Let me know if you guys would make any changes, or if you guys want to discuss anything about this in general. So yeah, thank you guys so much if you made it to the end of this video. I really appreciate it. It was fun. Take care. Have a wonderful day. Gotta love Vikings. This is my tier list. Peace out.